a powerful reaction one way or the other is infinitely preferable to me than pleasing everybody. Most of the people I've met who've been in the television industry for a long time, their greatest fear is that they will not be in the television industry next year. That they'll say something or do something or make a decision that will be so unpopular that they will lose their gig.
Like a celestial nip.
And won't end up back on television again.
I feel my syphilis clearing up.
I don't have that fear.
I hated the whole dish. I keep tasting it. I keep poking it, just to make sure that I actually hate it as much as I think I do. It's appalling.
Anthony Bourdain was unapologetically expressive,
You've never cooked bacon
both
while
in the
making-
kitchen and through his storytelling. Widely regarded as the original rock star of the culinary world, he worked his way up from dishwasher to head chef before becoming a best-selling author and a television host. What set Bourdain apart was his relentless pursuit of adventure and authenticity. His fearless creativity left an unmistakable mark on every story he told.
Uninhibited creative freedom is something that I've been incredibly fortunate to have for the better part of my entire television career. Unlike anyone else I know of in television, I've been free to do whatever I want, to make the shows I want, anywhere I want, with whom I want, in any style I want. So at first, I don't know any other way, and by now I won't have it any other way. Life is good. Why settle for less? And by the same token, when you're given that much freedom and you have essentially no interference and nothing but support behind you, what you don't want to do is get lazy and bored and sloppy. To me, I'd much rather not make TV at all, or make even unsuccessful TV, than make competent television. You know, it's very easy to make a conventional travel or food show at this point. It's the same shot sequence and the same sort of limited terminology. You know how all of the little pieces work, where you have to start and where you have to end. I detest competent, workmanlike storytelling. The times that we do that, I'm very unhappy with that. I'd rather fail.
Bourdain's willingness to embrace failure might have been what truly set his work apart. To attempt something and fall short is far more meaningful than never trying at all. That philosophy shaped the way he told stories.
You know, I accepted failure as a chef because I was at various times a bad chef, and even a bad person. These days, if I fail, it's because I tried to do something and did not succeed, or I just was not able to do what I hoped to do or wanted to do. Or maybe I tried to do something that just clearly, in retrospect, didn't work. But I would much rather that. I would much rather fail gloriously than not venture, not try. I'm not as I said before, I'm not interested in telling stories with competence. I'm looking to tell them with some style and originality and some creativity that is interesting to me and the people I work with. And there have been times that has resulted in failure, meaning it didn't work, didn't communicate anything like what I wanted to. Often the story I think I'm going to get ends up being another story entirely that's even better or very different. That's good. And then there are shows where, you know, some people are just going to hate it. They just don't like the style. They think it's self-indulgent. They don't get it. But that's the kind of failure I like. A powerful reaction one way or the other is infinitely preferable to me than pleasing everybody. If I walk in a room where everybody agrees with me, I find that frightening and dismaying and boring as fuck.
This relentless pursuit of originality was evident not only in his career, but in the way he approached life itself. It's no surprise that this mindset fueled his deep sense of curiosity and adventure. Having traveled to over 100 countries in his television career, his perspective on travel is one worth listening to.
Be open to experience, be willing to try new things, don't have a rigid plan, accept random acts of hospitality without judgment or fear. Don't be afraid to wander. Don't be afraid to eat a bad meal. You know, if you don't risk the bad meal, you'll never get the magical one. But I think most important, you know, be humble, be grateful. Be aware of the fact that you are probably the stupidest person in the room. As far as you are the least prepared, least equipped person to know who's really in charge and what's really going on.
His open-minded approach to travel shaped the way he viewed humanity. The more he traveled, the more he realized that beneath our differences, there's far more that connects us than divides us.
Maybe before I started traveling, I thought that the human race as a whole were venal, petty, cruel, arbitrary. And it's true that all of those things exist in this world, but I meet mostly pretty nice people doing the best they can, often under very, very difficult conditions. I met a lot of very nice people who've done very, very bad things that conflict with my deeply held conceptions of justice, of sexual equality, or acceptable practice, or religious views. A lot of gray areas in travel. But I think that on balance, the world is filled with people doing the best they can, you know, who love their kids and, you know, would like to put on a clean shirt every morning and live their lives with a little dignity and have access to food and water, hope, just like everybody else.
That same perspective carried into his own life, particularly when reflecting on his drug addiction in the 1980s. Even in his lowest moments, he recognized that he still held on to a sense of self-worth.
A lot of other addicts looked in the mirror every day and did not see somebody worth saving. Even at my worst, there was a level of vanity, I guess. I looked in the mirror and saw somebody deep in there, regardless of how low I was, my circumstances. I had a high enough opinion of myself that I thought it's worth going forward. I think a lot of people in a similar situation, for whatever reason, look in the mirror and see somebody that unworthy of good things and allow themselves or excuse a downward spiral because they don't really believe in their basic worth. I did, you know, so that's vanity.
Anthony Bourdain never fit neatly into one box. He was a chef, a storyteller, a traveler, but more than anything, he was someone who looked at the world without pretending to have all the answers. His work wasn't just about where he went, but how he chose to see it. And in doing so, he left behind a perspective that continues to challenge the way we understand the world and ourselves. Rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain.